All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the SJP Files. I am your host, SJP, and we are back for another episode. Last week, there's a few hiccups along the week, so I was not able to record a second episode, which sucks a lot because I was really looking forward to it. A couple of things that happened that I was really looking forward to talking about, but I'm actually kind of glad that I didn't record a second episode last week, mainly because I felt like it gave the first episode of last week, the Tuesday episode, a real chance to kind of marinate before putting up a second episode, because I felt it was a little bit too daunting, and I can tell from my numbers that it kind of worked. This is the first, multiple issue, multiple play episode. Last week was the first multiple play episode in a couple weeks, in like 2 or 3 weeks, which is something I was trying to get over. But yesterday was Tuesday was episode 13. No, episode 12. This was episode 12, so we're going to episode 13 today of the SJP Files. Welcome. It's very great to have you all guys back again. We're going to start off the show with how we start off every Tuesday, the weekend observations. Now, there have been some things that have happened in the sports world. One major thing that happened on Saturday, I believe it was Saturday night, when this trade actually was reported. I'm checking to make sure, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Saturday night. I got home from work and I turned on SportsCenter, and late night, like 11, 12, on the Scott Van Pelt edition of SportsCenter at night, I see on the news, breaking news, the Detroit Lions have traded Matthew Stafford to the Los Angeles Rams for Jared Goff and a package of picks. So as I know, the trade works out, the Detroit Lions send Matthew Stafford to LA, and the Rams send back Jared Goff, a 2021 third-round pick, and a 2022 and a 2023 first-round pick in exchange for Matthew Stafford. Now, this is a very interesting trade because you've got you have one incredibly talented team, and the hell was that?
I think the conversation between Zach Wilson and
Scratch that. Sorry about that, guys. But we've got one very, very talented quarterback in Matthew Stafford, who's never really had the chance to prove just how good he is. I mean, the guy's been the starting quarterback for the Detroit Lions for, I want to say, 12 years. Let me check to make sure. But yeah, he's been the starting quarterback for the Detroit Lions for 12 years, and he's the only constant on that team. With the leavings of Calvin Johnson, retired at 30, he was kind of Matthew Stafford's running mate for a while. But Nate Burleson, I believe, was on this team for a while. They've never really had a good defense. They've had, I think, one good defense, and I want to say like 2011. I think that was their only like top 15 defense. And Stafford got that team to an 11-5 record. I believe he's made the playoffs 3 times. He's 0-3. But statistically speaking, Stafford's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the NFL, can make every single throw. Like the way you talk about guys like, the way you talk about the arm talents of guys like Mahomes and Rodgers and, Manning and Rivers and all those guys, Matthew Stafford has that. He's got that, he's got that raw ability that all of those guys have. And Matthew's never been one of those guys. He's never been one of those guys who's, throws a ton of picks. He's never been that guy. I mean, he's thrown 20 interceptions once in his career, and that was his rookie year. He played 10 games. He had 13 touchdowns, 20 picks. Next year, he got hurt. He only played 3 games that year, 6 touchdowns, 1 pick. The next year was his 2011 season. That, I believe, that was his best year. Statistically speaking, that's the best year of his career statistics, record-wise. 63%, 64% completion percentage, 5,000 yards, 41 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. Then after that, there's a couple rough years. The next year, 20 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. The year after that, 29 and 19, then 22 and 12, then 32 and 13. That's his second best season of his career. And that was in 2015. And then in 2016, 24 and 10, 2017, 29 and 10, 2018, 21 and 11, 2019, 19 and 5. He only played 8 games. And this year he played all 16 games, 26 touchdowns, 10 picks. His passer rating for his career is a 90. Well, it's 89.9, so I'm just rounded up to 90. But Matthew Stafford has all the tools. He has the arm talent of any, gifted quarterback you've seen coming out in the last year. And I think this is a really good trade for the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, the Rams have a great defense. They have an absolutely stellar defense. And they have a stellar defense, an incredibly talented offense. They've just got a guy in Jared. They had a guy in Jared Goff who just couldn't. I feel like Goff he had an okay season. He had a good season this year. I mean, his stats look amazing. 67% throwing percentage, 20 touchdowns, 13 picks, 90 passer rating. You look at his numbers. What is it? 3,900 yards. You look at his numbers and you say, man, he had a great season. Why would you trade him? He's one of those guys. I think these are two guys you got to look past the numbers. I think Jared Goff is a good talent surrounded by a great team. And I think Matthew Stafford's a great talent surrounded by a mediocre team. You got a team in LA who's definitely willing to spend money, willing to spend capital. I mean, this trade creates like $22 million in dead cap money on their roster. I mean, that's $22 million you can't use. Plus, with the picks they used to draft Goff, and then the picks they had to use to trade him, with all the other trades they've made to make this team the way it is, as good as it is, as talented as it is, they don't have a first round pick, I believe, for the next 8 years. It might be 7, but I'm pretty sure they don't have a first round draft pick for the next 7-8 years. I mean, this is a team that's really, really strange. I mean, you look at this receiving core, and I can't wait to see what Matthew Stafford does with this receiving core. You've got Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, both had over 900 yards, 92 catches for Kupp, 90 catches for Wood. You got Tyler Higbee, Gerald Everett. Van Jefferson. I think you're going to see probably Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods both go over 1,000 yards next season. That's how much more talented I believe Matthew Stafford is than Jared Goff. I think Jared Goff is not even in his league, really. They're both completely different players. And it's a shame for both of these guys. Not really a shame for both. It's a shame for him. It's a shame for Stafford. This is going to be your first chance to see, Matt Stafford really show out and show what would have happened if he had been drafted by a competent team. If Matthew Stafford was drafted by, let's say, I don't remember his draft, but let's say he was drafted by a team like, let's say he was drafted by a team like the Packers, or let's say he was drafted by the Patriots. Let's say he was drafted by, the Colts or the Dolphins, or let's say he was drafted by a team who was completely about spending money. And if they were, Matthew Stafford's career looks very, very different. It's a shame that 12 years in, he's finally getting a chance to prove just how good he really is. And they're a bad defense. Sorry. They're just a bad, bad defense for a team like this. Matthew Stafford's going to have, for the first time in his career, an absolutely elite defense. He's gonna have an elite defense this year. And the last time he had an elite defense in the NFL, last time he had an elite defense in the NFL, he was completely not an elite defense. He had an average defense. He had like a top 10 defense. That was in his, I want to say, his third year. Since then, it's been up and down, up and down. Their defense is basically, the 2020 Lions defense was basically middle of the pack, while the Los Angeles Rams defense was at the top of the heap, man. I was looking for the list of defenses in the NFL, but apparently they went by alphabetical order, which is ridiculous. Nobody care about the alphabetical order on NFL.com. For some reason, they went by the alphabetical order instead of the actual, team defenses. But yeah, the Los Angeles Rams had the number one defense in the NFL last year. And if they can keep that up, Matthew, with the weapons they have on offense, Matthew Stafford's going to have a great year this year. I would not be surprised to see him go over 5,000 yards. He nearly went over 5,000 yards this year. Actually, no. He was about 1,000 short. But, yeah, he's been over 5,000 yards before, and he's gotten close a couple times. So I want to see him succeed. That's what I want from Matthew Stafford. I want to see him succeed, and I think this is his perfect opportunity to show everybody what he can really do. And if you talk to defensive coordinators around the league, the people who play Matthew Stafford, they will all tell you he can make every single throw on the field, and he is just as good as he's just as talented as any of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Problem is, he does not have a team to support that talent, and Detroit's always been that way. I mean, Barry Sanders wanted to get traded out of Detroit. Detroit said no. Barry Sanders said, fuck off. I'm done. Calvin Johnson said, man, I'm not going to stick around here to play on a losing team for the rest of my career, tearing up my body. So Calvin quit. He retired, left, went to go smoke his weed. No more power to the man. When he went home, realized, man, this isn't worth it. This level of punishment for this little success that I'm taking, it's not worth it. So he checked out, and he's retired and looks happy. You got two all-time greats at their respective positions, basically in their prime. Barry Sanders considered one of, if not the greatest running back of all time. Calvin Johnson, one of the most physically gifted wide receivers we've ever seen. And Calvin basically just left, man. He retired. And if he had been drafted by a team that had been consistently winning and consistently in the playoffs and had a chance at a Super Bowl, maybe he goes, you know what? I can keep doing this. I can stay. I can go, 15 years instead. I think he went 8 years. I think Calvin went 8 years, retired at about 30 years old. He was done. He said, to hell with this bullshit. So that's just the way it is. Enough about our Matthew Stafford trade. Oh, I forgot about the Jared Goff part of this trade. God, he is forgettable. Jared Goff. Great completion percentages. I mean, he's had his numbers look really good, with the exception of his rookie year, like every rookie quarterback, exception of his rookie year. I mean, his second year, 28 touchdowns, 7 picks. Third year, 32 touchdowns, 12 picks. The next year, 22 touchdowns, 16 picks. This year, 20 touchdowns, 13 picks. Career passer rating, 91.5. Round that up. And 91.5. He's thrown 4,000 yards 2 of his 5 seasons. He got close this year. He was like about 45 yards short, I think. Not 48 yards short. He was about 48 yards short this year. But for some reason, you look at his stats and you go, man, it looks great. His stats look like he's a very good quarterback, and he has inopportune times when he throws picks, inopportune interceptions. I mean, interceptions that just break your back and you go, fuck. How? And from what I hear, the moment and Sean McVay, the head coach of the Los Angeles Rams, hasn't been happy with Jared Goff for a while, but like the straw that kind of broke the camel's back was that San Francisco game where the quarterback, not Jimmy G, but his backup came in there, and Goff kind of just turned the game. Or I think he had 2 interceptions and a fumble in that game, and that's the reason why they lost, because he couldn't hang on to the ball against a team they should have crushed. Against a team they should have absolutely crushed, and they didn't, because Goff can't hang on to the football, and Matthew Stafford's not exactly the greatest, at keeping his interceptions down or keeping his turnovers down, but I have far more faith in Matthew Stafford than I do in Jared Goff, so that's what I want to see. I want to see what these two guys look like in these 2 different situations. Was McVay holding Goff back, or is Goff just not that good? I don't think he's that good. I've never been particularly enamored with him. We'll see. And ladies and gentlemen, those are your files on Jared Goff and Jared Goff and what the fuck? Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford. God, I hate when that happens. Just forgetting people's names in the middle of episodes. It's irritating. Also, the first 2021 NFL mock draft came out. Bucky Brooks' 2021 NFL mock draft 1.0. All right, let's see. The number 1 pick from the Jacksonville Jaguars. They take, this is a mock draft, so this is what the NFL insiders believe these guys are going to take. Jacksonville takes Trevor Lawrence at number 1, with Urban Meyer coming out to coach. I believe this happened before I even started recording, or I just didn't pay attention to it. Urban Meyer, the new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, him coming out of retirement to coach a premier talent in Trevor Lawrence. Let's see if Trevor's really can he live up to the hype, because he's one of the most hyped quarterbacks probably since Andrew Luck. He's probably the most hyped number 1 overall pick since Andrew Luck. Everyone knew Luck was going to be the number 1 overall pick. Everyone's known Trevor Lawrence is going to be the number 1 overall pick. Since his freshman year, everybody knew he was going to be the number 1 overall pick. But the New York Jets are eyeing to take Justin Fields, quarterback out of Ohio State. This is also his junior year. I don't know much about Justin Fields. I'm not a big college football guy, but I do know some of these names. Dolphins at number 3 take Jamar Chase, wide receiver out of LSU. Looks like they're trying to get some firepower to help Tua, who did not have a great rookie year. He looked bad. Atlanta Falcons quarterback Zach Wilson, with Matt Ryan hitting to age 36, and the Atlanta Falcons' inability to hang on to second half leads. I mean, they had to have blown like 4 second half leads this season. They look horrendous. It looked absolutely terrible. Cincinnati Bengals take Penel Swell. I have no idea. Offensive tackle out of Oregon. Philly takes Kyle Pitts. tight end out of Florida. Detroit Lions, Jalen Waddle, with the exception of Calvin Johnson, the Detroit Lions do not have a great track record with wide receivers in the first round. You look at guys like Charles Rogers, who sucked in Detroit. We got Trey Lance, QB out of North Dakota State. Never heard this guy's name. Redshirt sophomore, apparently, so he's in third year, so he's eligible. But I have absolutely no idea who this guy is. Let's see. Coach Matt Rose thinking a quarterback with capacity to thrive as a closer in the fourth quarter. Lance brings winning pedigree and a dynamic game to Charlotte as a dual threat QB with Pro Bowl potential. Okay. That I have no idea what that means. Okay. I'm looking at one of his highlights right now. Kid looks fast. Kid looks very fast. Dual threat quarterback, short, black, obviously. Congratulations. Denver Broncos Patrick Surtain, the second quarterback out of Alabama. Okay. Dallas Cowboys take Caleb Furley, quarterback out of Virginia Tech, cornerback. All right, pass rusher Gregory. What's that? I can't pronounce his last name. Edge rusher out of Miami. San Francisco, J.C. Horn, cornerback out of South Carolina. The Chargers take Rashawn Slater. The Minnesota Vikings, what is that? Kitty Pay, edge rusher. Man, who names their kid that? My New England Patriots, Micah Parsons, linebacker. Patriots need to move up to get a quarterback. All right, that's not going to happen because that's not what Bill Belichick believes. But we need a quarterback. And I almost forgot about this. Matt Stafford, I do wish Matt Stafford the best. But Matt Stafford saying he doesn't want to go to New England, doesn't want to be traded to anywhere. He'll be welcome anywhere except for New England. Leaves a little bit of taste in my mouth. Leaves a bit of a bad taste in my mouth. And I'm not sure how I feel about you, Matt. I'm really not. I'm not sure how I feel about you. You make me... You feel a little suspect. That's a little suspect commentary right there. And there might be some hard feelings between me and you. I want you to succeed. But you taking a shot at my Patriots, taking a shot at the Patriot way, leaves me a little, feeling some type of way about you. So I hope you do well, but I'm not overly a fan of you right now. Arizona Cardinals, Devontae Smith, wide receiver out of Alabama, with Larry Fitzgerald being 37 this year. The Cards need somebody to play opposite side of DeAndre Hopkins. Las Vegas Raiders, Jeremiah, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this dude's hyphenated last name, linebacker out of Notre Dame. Also Deshaun Watson. I know I interject, but sometimes some things just come to my mind, and I completely forgot about this when I was talking about the Goff Stafford trade. A couple weeks ago, Deshaun Watson requested a trade from the Houston Texans, and apparently the new head coach and the general manager are in a complete denial, because in their introductory press conferences, I hear, Deshaun, head coach, saying Deshaun's a Texan. I took this job knowing Deshaun would stay a Texan, and Deshaun clearly does not want to be there after wiping out the Houston Texans from his social media, just completely removing any trace of the Houston. He does not want to be there. He wants out. He wants out now, and you can't blame him. After they traded away his number one option, DeAndre Hopkins, for nothing, for I think a second round pick and a washed up running back. Really, I'd have been pissed too. And they said they were going to talk to him about decision making, and then they just didn't do that. And they gave him a heads up after the decisions were made, so they basically lied to his face. Let's see, the Miami Dolphins, Najee Harris, running back out of Alabama. I'm hoping that I pronounced your name correct. The football team takes Mac Jones, quarterback out of Alabama. I do not know anything about this kid. Junior, redshirt junior, so it's 4 years of college ball. Let's see. Pinpoint pocket passer. Great leadership skills. Okay. Alabama quarterbacks do not do well in the NFL, but it's rare to see one go in the first round. So maybe he's a different cat. Chicago Bears taking O lineman from USC. I'm not going to pronounce this guy's name because I can't. Colts take Christian, I think that's Darashaw, O tackle from Virginia Tech. Tennessee Titans, an edge rusher from Georgia, not pronouncing his name either. Travis Eddie, whatever. Running back from Clemson. Pittsburgh Steelers, Nick Button. I think it's Nick Button from Missouri. Christian Barrymore, D tackle from Alabama, goes to Jacksonville for their second first-round pick. The Cleveland Browns, Zevin Collins, linebacker. I would prefer to see them take an offensive lineman in Cleveland, see if they can move up. The Baltimore Ravens, Jaden Phillips, because Cleveland has their franchise quarterback in Baker Mayfield. He's a franchise quarterback, just needs a little bit of help. They need, I would say, you got an asset in Odell Beckham Jr., find a way to trade Odell, maybe get a second or a third round pick for him. Try and find and maybe package that with your first round pick. Maybe try and move up in the draft so you can get some help to get some help to help Baker Mayfield, succeed. All right, Jalen Phillips. Oh boy, I'll be back in a second, guys. All right, I'm back. Apologies for the interruption. Something happened that, fuck. But whatever. I don't even remember really where the hell I was. I think I was going through the mock draft. Yeah. Where was I? Jalen Phillips, Baltimore Ravens, edge rusher out of Miami, New Orleans Saints. Trevor Morag, safety from TCU. Green Bay Packers, Jalen Mayfield, offensive lineman. And Buffalo Bills, Carlos Basham Jr., edge rusher, Wake Forest. Joseph Osai, edge rusher out of Texas. And Kadarius Toney, wide receiver out of Florida. That is your 2021 mock draft for the NFL. That's the first. That's mock draft 1.0. We'll get a few as we step closer and closer to the NFL draft I think it's in April. I think he drafts in April or something like that. Who honestly gives I like watching the first round of the draft. Get a bit of a breakdown, but after that, I really don't care about the second or the third or the fourth or the seventh round, honestly. You just hope your team can get somebody who's, competent. But we're going to go straight over to the NBA. I usually like to do a break here, and then after doing the NFL, then getting into the NBA. Usually takes about 30 minutes for me to get through the NFL conversation and then move on to my passion, the NBA. But unfortunately, because of an interruption, I was not able to do that. So we're going to go through probably the NBA power rankings are out. So we're going to go through the power rankings, talk about each team as we go along, talk about some of the games each teams have played in their little time since, in their time away since my last podcast. I do the power rankings every single week, honestly, because I love it. And it's easier to break down the entirety of the league when you do the power rankings. I spend a lot of the time on the top 10, and then I kind of breeze through like the top, and I breeze through like the bottom 15 because they don't fucking matter. All right, we're going to start off with the plus minus players of the week. The right way. Joe Harris heading Joe Harris of the Brooklyn Nets heading in the right direction, a plus 56 in 4 games last week. Nikola Vucevic of the Orlando Magic heading in the wrong way with a minus 71 in 4 games last week. Ugh. Teams of the week, the Houston Rockets, 3-0 this week. Congratulations to Houston after the James Harden trade. They, with Wall and Oladipo, they're, I want to say, like 6-2. I think they're like 6-2 since the Wall Oladipo trade. Right now, they are the 10th ranked team in the Western Conference in that bubble range. They won their last 5 straight games. Yeah, I want to say they're like 6-2 in their last since the trade. They were 6-2 or 5-2 since the James Harden trade. Good for them. I want to see Houston do well. I want to see John Wall do well. Him and Boogie have definitely been playing better lately. Next, let's see where we at. Let's see, the Dallas Mavericks 0-4, heading down the wrong track. Jesus Christ. Mavs are one of those teams. If you listen to the Western Conference breakdown, you know how I felt about the Dallas Mavericks with a healthy Kristaps Porzingis. I definitely believed that the Dallas Mavericks could definitely step into the top of the Western Conference, but right now they are terrible. Not okay. I take that back. They're not terrible, but they don't exactly look good right now. We'll get into them more when we hit them in the power rankings. East versus West. The West is 59-37 against the Eastern Conference. They went 16-6 last week. Let's see. Toughest schedule through week 6. Memphis, Detroit, Oklahoma City. Easiest. Orlando, Philly, Atlanta. Highest jumps of the week. Charlotte +6. Houston +6. And by that, I mean Charlotte went up 6 spots. Houston went up 6 spots. Oklahoma City went up 4 spots. San Antonio went up 4 spots. Free falls of the week. Cleveland down 5 spots. The Knicks down 5 spots. Portland down 5 spots. And Toronto down 5 spots. Team to watch, the Atlanta Hawks. They're one of the only 2 Eastern Conference teams with a winning record against the Western Conference. They're 4-2 in their last 6. And let's see. Okay. For those of you who do not remember, the key stats for the power ranking are pace, offensive rating, defensive rating, and net rating. Pace is how many possessions you have per 48 minutes. Offensive rating, how many points you score per 100 possessions. Defensive rating, how many points you score, how many points you allow per 100 possessions. And net rating, what's the point differential for your per 100 possession. What's the point differential between you and your opponent? Now, it's week 2. I'm saying week 2. It's week 7, I believe. I believe this is like the week 7 power rankings. Yeah. Power rankings week 7. The new number 1 team who jumped up 2 spots, the Los Angeles Clippers. Woo, 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 woo. If you listened to the episode last week, you know very well I ain't a Clippers fan. Not only do I not like the Clippers, I'm very, very... fuck Clippers Nation. As you know, I'm very, very, very... I don't even know how to say very. I don't like them. I don't like the Clippers. Clippers suck. The hell with them. I'm not impressed with their 129-115 win over the Knicks, nor am I impressed with their, 116 90-point lead win against the Orlando Magic. Could care less about their win against Miami. They lost against Atlanta, and they won against Oklahoma City. So those are their 5 games. Yay, congratulations. Good God, why do they irritate me so much? I'm not sure. I don't even think it's their problem. I do not think they're the reason I'm so irritated with this team. My problem isn't them. My problem is the people who were like sucking their dick last year. The people who are just, they're the greatest team ever. They're the Golden State Warriors from a couple years ago with Kevin Durant, when adding a guy who, and Paul George is having a great like MVP level year this year. He's averaging 24 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, while Kawhi Leonard is averaging 26 points, 5 rebounds, and I believe a career high 5 assists. Kawhi shooting 50 from the field, 41% from three, 92% from the free throw line, while Paul George is shooting 50% from the field, 45% from three, 92% from the free throw line. Both, you got two of, I want to say the NBA is like 10, 40, 50 guys, 40, 50, 90 guys on this team. And it just does nothing for me. Their debacle in the bubble last year makes it so clear that the only thing that really matters to me when it comes to this team, after all the talking that they were doing and all the talking people were doing for them, it's the playoffs. And if they don't succeed in the playoffs, this doesn't matter to me. It doesn't. Their NBA schedule doesn't matter to me. Their new group setting doesn't matter to me. Their ability to play defense doesn't matter to me. What matters to me, because they're third in offensive rating, 12th in defensive rating, and number one in net rating. Best point differential in the league, 12th best defense, third best offense. I'd say they're a deep team. They're a deep team. They still have some issues. No true playmaker and no true big man. I don't know what they're going to do, because to get to the NBA Finals, they're going to have to get through the Lakers and probably the Nuggets and or the Jazz. They're going to have to get through probably two of those three teams to properly to get a chance to really win a championship. And those two teams are, they don't have anyone who could guard Anthony Davis, but then again, Anthony Davis hasn't exactly been playing, great basketball right now. He looks out of sorts. I don't know what the problem is. He looks completely out of sorts, while LeBron James looks like LeBron James. What do you want? We'll get more to the Lakers when we get to the Lakers in the power rankings. As for the remaining of the Clippers, I think they should be looking for a point guard in the buyout market, or maybe look for a trade. And excuse me, they need a true point guard and they need a true big man. Other than that, they're kind of, treading water for me. Games they played, like I said earlier, they beat up 116-90 on the Orlando Magic. Kawhi Leonard, 24 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Paul George, 26 points, 7 rebounds. 26 points. Yeah, 26 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. Sorry about that. Marcus Morris off the bench gave you 13 points. Serge Ibaka gave you 13 points. And Reggie Jackson, who was the starter for this game, I think is he their permanent starter? Because I have no idea. I do not watch the Clippers play. As for the Orlando Magic, they're pretty much racked with injuries. Just a terrible game from everyone involved. Nikola Vucevic, 4 for 13 from the field. Evan Fournier, 3 for 13. Aaron Gordon, 4 for 14. 2 for 10 from Cole Anthony. The only person who actually had a good game on the Magic was Terrence Ross, who went 8 for 12. He had 24 points off the bench. Him and Nikola Vucevic were the only two Orlando Magic players in double digits, and they got stomped by the LA Clippers. I believe the next game the Clippers played was against – next game that interests me anyway was against the New York Knicks. Kawhi Leonard, 28 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Paul George, 17 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. Got 18 points out of Reggie Jackson, 15 points out of Serge Ibaka, 13 points out of Patrick Patterson, 11 points off the bench from Marcus Morris, and scored 129 points till the New York Knicks 115. This game was a lot closer than I expected it to be, but the New York Knicks are not a terrible team this year. They got a lot of young talent on this team. Julius Randle, I'm not sure if he's a good player putting up great stats on a bad team. Or is he a great player putting up stats on a bad team? Not a bad team. Yeah, a bad team. Not a horrendous team, but a bad team. On the Knicks. They're not trash, but they're not exactly good either. Like I said, 27 points, 12 rebounds. RJ Barrett, 23 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. He needs to round his game out a little more. Alfred Payton gave you 10 points, and Emmanuel Quickly off the bench gave you 25 points. Great from him. I didn't even remember this dude's name. Obi Toppin has not looked well this season. I don't know what's up with him. This is not the uber athlete that a lot of guys thought we were going to get, and I don't think he's broken double-digit points this whole season. He's 4 years out of college, forward. He's averaging 5 points, 3 rebounds, like 1 assist, 6'9" rookie, 220. He doesn't look good. He looked good in the regular season. He looked good in moments in the regular season, but right now he looks bad. He does not look like the number 1 overall pick. He's not a number 1 overall pick, the first round pick, sorry, that the New York Knicks hoped they were getting. And I'll say this until, I'm blue in the face, but the New York Knicks should have drafted Tyrese Halliburton. He would have been perfect for this offense. He would have been perfect to run the offense instead of you wanting RJ Barrett or Alfred Payton running this offense. You would have had Tyrese Halliburton, RJ Barrett, Mitchell Robinson, Julius Randle. That's a good team. That's a good young starting core, especially Barrett and Halliburton, because Halliburton plays winning basketball. He plays defense. He's a good passer. He's a good shooter, a good spot-up shooter, and he's a good playmaker. So I think Halliburton is the guy they should have drafted, and, the Knicks nicked it. And they got Obi Toppin, and he don't look great. He looks bad, actually. He looks really bad. I hope, the NBA is a little kinder to him than I'm going to be. And you had Emmanuel Quickly, who is the other first-round pick from the New York Knicks. He's having a very good start to the season. 13 points, averaging about 12.5 points, 2 rebounds, 2.5 assists per game. He's the guy who looks good on this team. He's got back-to-back 25-point games once again, one against Cleveland and then one against the Clippers right here. And then he's got a 31-point game against Portland. Kid can score. Kid can score in bunches. He can shoot. Does it look like the Knicks got one good player out of the draft instead of, the loser they got in the first at the top half of the first round? Because that's what Obi Toppin looks right now. He very much looks like a bust, but I'm not going to call him a bust because it's his first year. You got to give a guy a couple years before you call him a bust, even though he very much looks just like that, a bust. And that's it for the Clippers. That hurts to talk about. It really does. Next, a team I really like to talk about, the Philadelphia 76ers, who are atop the Eastern Conference right now, had a big win over the Los Angeles Lakers. When was this game? This game was, I'm going to say 2 nights ago. This game was like 2-3 nights ago where they beat the LA Lakers in a very close game. They beat the Lakers in a very close game. This game happened last Wednesday. This was one of the games I wanted to talk about last week, but I didn't get a chance to because of way late stupidity. But yeah, the sorry, I'm having like a brain freeze. My brain just stopped essentially there for a second. But the 76ers beat the Lakers. And even though the Lakers put it on the 76ers a little bit at the end of the fourth quarter, the 76ers, with Tobias Harris stepping up and hitting that game-winning shot. Big ups to the 76ers. They are a very tough team, and they're at the top of the Eastern Conference by about 2.5 games. Next team behind them is my Brooklyn Nets, who are 7-3 in their last 10 games, but giving up 140 points damn near every game. We'll get to them. I will get to them. Good God. But Philly is 6th in pace, 12th in offensive rating, 3rd in defensive rating, 6th in net rating. They did blow like a 12-point lead in less than 3 minutes against the Lakers, but Tobias Harris, stepped up, hit a game-winning shot. The Sixers are still undefeated when both Seth Curry and Joel Embiid are on the court. And Joel Embiid is, without question, one of the leading candidates for MVP. He's putting on a show. Joel Embiid is very much putting on a show in Philly. He deserves his flowers. He's averaging 28 points, 11 rebounds. He only averaging 3 assists, but still 55% from the field, 40% from 3, 84 from the field. I absolutely love Joel Embiid right now. It looks like he's definitely evolved his game. He's changed his game. He's able to play up, face up, and back to the basket. He makes almost every other center look bad, and he made Anthony Davis look bad. Let's be real here. He made Anthony Davis look very, very bad in this game. He was giving Anthony Davis the business all game long, and with Anthony Davis had 23 points, 8 rebounds in that game, but Joel Embiid 28 points, 6 rebounds, he had 4 assists. But you could see he was working Anthony Davis the whole game. And Anthony Davis, although he had a good game here, AD does not look like himself. I don't know what it is, but he doesn't look like himself, and it's kind of worrying me. Now, I know I said I wasn't worried in this game. Ben Simmons, 17 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists in this game. He had his triple-double, but that really doesn't matter because nobody was really talking about him. People were talking about Tobias Harris, hitting shots, hitting that game-winning shot, and Joel Embiid, playing at an MVP level. And nobody really mentions Ben Simmons giving you a triple-double. And it seems like Ben has slid into his role because it's kind of obvious he's not the primary scorer. It's obvious he's not the secondary scorer. He's the primary ball handler, but it looks like that those trade rumors might have humbled him, believing he was hot shit. And those trade rumors it sounds like those trade rumors have humbled Ben Simmons. And I hope so, because if he can, take what happened to him this season with all the trade rumors and use that as motivation to improve his offensive game, because Ben Simmons has not improved his offensive game in the 5 years he's been in the league. He basically averages the same points. He's an elite All-NBA level defender, All-NBA first team level defensive player. But outside of that, he's a great passer. He's a great defender. But offensively, his scoring game it's rudimentary at best. It's rudimentary at best. And I don't see, and I haven't seen much improvement in the last couple of years. Now, the Lakers slide down to the third spot in the power rankings. This is their first time not in the top spot all year. They basically spent the first 6 weeks of the season at the top of the power rankings. Now they're third, 15-6, or 16-6. I believe it's 15-6. They're third. They're even third in the Western Conference right now. Third in the Western Conference standings, behind Utah and the Clippers. Clippers are 16-5. Utah's 15-5. The Lakers are 15-6. The Lakers, Jazz, and Clippers look far and away your three best teams in the Western Conference, while the Nuggets are still kind of getting back. The Nuggets look like they're finally rounding into form, while the Memphis Grizzlies are still a young, hungry team, but they look good. The Phoenix Suns haven't really found a way to play haven't really found, their groove in playing with each other. I think they need to speed the game up. I think they need to speed their game up because they're playing too slow for DeAndre. I think they're playing too slow for DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker. I think those two guys both succeed better in a more high-paced offense. But with Chris Paul as your primary ball handler, I don't know if he really wants to push the tempo like that at his age. Portland's number 7. Golden State at 8, San Antonio at 9, Houston at 10. Houston's been driving at the power rankings, and I wouldn't be shocked to see them slide into the top 6 very soon in the next couple weeks. I wouldn't be surprised to see Houston slide into the top 6. But back to the Lakers. The Lakers just won a nail biter in Boston, and harrowing, escape against the Boston Celtics. Held Boston to 17 points on 22 possessions in the fourth quarter. A 1-point win. They've got a 1-point. They just eked out that 1-point win, which I'm glad for them. Big ups for them. Big ups for the Los Angeles Lakers. Doing what they do. Doing kind of what they've always done. And the Lakers look like they're the best. I still think they look like they're the best team in the NBA, even though Anthony Davis, I don't know what you're doing, but I really need you to get your head together. I don't know what's his deal right now, but I really need Anthony Davis to get his head together because offensively, I'm expecting more than 22 points. I was expecting Anthony Davis to be playing, honestly, like Joel Embiid was playing. I expected like that 27, 28 point a game, 10 plus rebounds. He's a better passer. I think he's a better passer than Joel Embiid. I think Joel Embiid's a better offensive scorer because Joel has a better post game than Davis. Davis has the better handles. I think he's got a better face-up game, but Embiid's got the better post game. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna we just finished the top 3 of the power rankings. When we get back, we're gonna take a quick break, but when we get back, we're gonna start on the next half of the power rankings. We're gonna start at number 4, which is the Denver Nuggets. We're gonna pay some bills real quick with a word from our sponsors. All right, hello. Bills have been paid, and I am back. Had to take a short break. A couple reasons. One, I was a little tired of just, talking shit. And second, multiple interruptions rendered the first about 40 minutes of this episode quite irritating. To the point where I had to take a break to recollect myself, to connect myself to shit. I don't even know what to say, how to call it. To essentially just, I needed a breather. And I needed people to stop irritating me. So I made it very clear not to knock on my damn door. But I'm back. We left off, and the 4th team on the NBA power rankings are the Denver Nuggets. Now, the Denver Nuggets have definitely, since the start of the season, they had a very slow start for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why, but I think they were just adjusting to not having Jeremy Grant on the team, and Michael Porter definitely missed some time at the beginning of the season, which hurt them. But now this team is essentially back to roughly 100%, coming off of wins against the Utah Jazz. They lost against the San Antonio Spurs, which is a bad loss. Actually, I wouldn't say that's a bad loss. It's not a bad loss. Spurs are a good team this year. A big blowout win against the Miami Heat. Another big win against the Dallas Mavericks, and then a big win before that against the Phoenix Suns. Two actually back-to-back wins against the Phoenix Suns. One in regulation, the other in overtime. But two close games. I had about three close games first, and right now you've got your MVP. In my opinion, he is the my pick. Well, he's not my pick for MVP, but he is at the top of the MVP list right now. It's him and Joel Embiid. Those are your two, him, Joel Embiid, and LeBron James. Those are your kind of three top MVP guys for me. Anyway, you've got, let's see, Nikola Jokic is averaging, what, I just lost his stats. There you go. 27 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists for a big man, shooting 57% from the field, 38% from three, 83% from the free throw line. You also have Jamal Murray, who's definitely come down to earth since the bubble. The bubble was lighting people up for like 50 points at any given night, but he's dropped down to earth. I don't know why. Got Michael Porter Jr., who I believe missed the first 10 games of the season. He's averaging 17 points up from last year, up from his regular season last year. For some reason, I feel like Michael Porter, from the stories that I've heard, Michael Porter Jr. and their head coach, whose name escapes me right now, don't particularly get along. They don't click. They have their issues. And you can see that in some of the minutes that Michael Porter was playing, especially last year. Michael Porter, not a great defender, but in freakish athlete, 6'10", about 220. He's only 22 years old. He sat out his first season. I believe he sat out his first season. Last year was the first year he played. I'm trying to remember. 2018, 2019, yeah, he sat out his first year. So, fact check me on that. If you get the chance, fact check me on that. Throw me an email, and we'll see if he actually fact checked on it. But doesn't matter whatsoever. The only thing that really matters is the fact that Michael Porter Jr. has been getting better and better and better. Had a 30-point game against Dallas like last week. In that Spurs loss, he only had 9 points. He had 11 points in the win against Utah. Oh, excuse me. But Michael Porter Jr. is definitely, and I wouldn't say he's the X factor of this team. He's going to be one of their primary playmakers. Jamal Murray is going to be the point guard of this team. But Nikola Jokic is he's the top of your rotation. He's the top of your guy. He just had his career high with 47. Their fourth in offensive rating, 18th in defensive rating, which isn't surprising considering the fact that two of their actually, I think all three of their best players aren't exactly great defenders. I think Jamal Murray is probably the best of the defenders. Michael Porter Jr. has the reach, the length to give people problems. He just hasn't really committed to defense yet. And Nikola Jokic is a bad defender. Sorry. Bad defender. Very, very bad defender. But this team has definitely evolved since their last couple games. They're just getting better and better as the season goes on. The next team on the power rankings is the Utah Jazz. They dropped down from 3 to 5 to no real fault of their own. What happened to them is the fact that, the 76ers had some big wins this week, and the Los Angeles Clippers are just kind of just keeping on. They're just playing very, very well. The Lakers got knocked down, and the Nuggets are on a win streak. That's really what happened to the Utah Jazz. They did lose. Coming off a loss against the Denver Nuggets, which is probably why Denver is right ahead of them, even though they have a better record than Denver. Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. You guys heard about me talking about what happened last week with the with the whole situation with Shaq and Rudy. It was a very weird situation. It was so strange. However, that fucking happened. But let's go to their last week's game. They beat the Mavericks. They actually back-to-back wins against the Mavericks, back-to-back blowout wins against the Mavericks, really. And then beat the Knicks, and then beat the Warriors, and then beat the Pelicans in a close game, and then beat the Pelicans in a blowout, and then beat the Nuggets last week. Those were their games last week. But the Utah Jazz, they're a hell of a lot better than I thought they'd be. I'm not gonna lie. They're incredibly gifted. They're incredibly talented. They're a very good defensive team and a very good offensive team. They're 5th in offensive rating, 6th in defensive rating, 4th in net rating. They are one of the best teams in the league. My only issue with them is scoring, especially when they play other teams, which I don't know, especially when they get into the playoffs. Because as much as I like Mike Conley, not a great scorer, Jordan Clarkson, Bogdanovich, consistent scoring is what I'm going to worry about from this team. Donovan Mitchell's giving you essentially 23 points a game, but consistent scoring is going to be their main issue, heading into the playoffs. Besides that fat contract Rudy Gobert got, Jesus Christ, they gave him way too much money. Said it last week. I wouldn't have given him a supermax, but hey, you get what you can negotiate, and he can negotiate that money, so get paid. Next, we've got the Brooklyn Nets, who shoot up from 8 to 6. Yes, they moved up 2 spots. What do you want from me? Yes, they moved up 2 spots. That's what happened, and is what it is. It very much is what it is. Now, last night they lost a freakish game to the Washington Wizards. It's very strange. I'm very confused about that game. I'm pretty sure I've got the stats. Kevin Durant 37 points. Joe Harris gave you 30 points. Kyrie gave you 26. Jeff Green gave you 23. As far as I can see, James Harden did not play. From the Washington Wizards, Bradley Beal gave you 37. Russell Westbrook gave you 41. Both of those guys hit big shots at the end of the game to seal this game. This game went 146 to 149. The Wizards win. This game was just a shootout from start to finish. The Wizards improbably won this game at the end. Big shot by Bradley Beal, steal, and then inbound steal, and then big shot from steal, and then big shot from Russell Westbrook. It was one of the 4 threes he made last night. Just a vintage Russell Westbrook performance. He hasn't really had a lot of those this year. Kind of in and out of the lineup with injury. And the Wizards are just a terrible team. They're the worst. They look like the worst team in the NBA. They have the worst. Yeah, they got the worst record in the NBA, but they look like the worst team in the NBA. And somebody please save Bradley Beal from this nonsense. And not just save Bradley Beal. Somebody save me from this nonsense. My God, I was one of those people. I was very, very sure that Russell Westbrook coming to this team was going to put them in the playoff picture, and now they have the worst record in the league. And like 16 games in, they've got the worst record in the league. They're 4-12. Are they 4-12 or the worst record? No, they're 4-12. 4-12. They've been missing games. They've had games canceled as well, which is why they've only played 16. While you had other players who've got 20. You have other teams who most teams are around like 20, 21 games. But good God, I feel so bad for the Wizards. I feel bad for Beal. I had also heard a rumor that he is not going to get traded this season. I hope that is so wrong because he needs to get the hell out of there. Somebody, a title contender needs to be like, man, Brad, come to whatever this place is and help us win a championship. But as for the Nets themselves, James Harden, the Nets, their defense is atrocious. They've got the second best offense in the league, fourth best pace, and the 25th ranked defense. And to be honest, the 25th ranked defense is being kind because they look like the worst defense in the league right now. At sometimes it seems like they can play, competent defense, but other times, I mean, they average like 120 plus points a game. They give up 120 plus points almost every single game. Can't win a championship like that, ladies and gentlemen. You just can't. The Milwaukee Bucks fall from 5 to 7. The Bucks are kind of an interesting story. They don't look as dominant as they were last year. They lost to the Lakers, had their game against the Wizards canceled or postponed, beat the Hawks, beat the Raptors, lost to New Orleans in a very close game, lost to Charlotte in a game that's not as close as the score indicates. They're second in points per game, second in rebounds, seventh in assists, 21st in offensive in opponents' points per game. Their defensive number 1 offensive rating in the league, number 17 defensive rating with Giannis Antetokounmpo and I think the Lopez twins are both on this team. With that kind of defense, I would expect them to be in like the top 10 at least. But it looks like they're still sorting themselves out, especially with Drew Holiday on the perimeter. But is what it is. There's no real. I'm not sure about them. Memphis Grizzlies are up from 10, or from 8. Yeah, are from 10 to 8. They've got the 13th ranked pace, 24th offensive rating, 5th second ranked defensive rating, and they're 14th in net rating. But with Ja Morant coming back, I think they've won 6 straight games right now since Morant. Excuse me. I did not mean to yawn into the microphone, but it happens sometimes. But yeah, 6 straight wins for the Memphis Grizzlies. Was the 7th straight game. They've outscored their opponents by 10 points in the paint. Season high, coming off a season high 17 3-pointers. Great on catch and shoots. Very scrappy, plucky young team out here in Indiana. Not Indiana, in Memphis. I'm very kind of attached to the Memphis Grizzlies. I don't hate them, but I'm attached to them. I like watching them play. I love watching Ja Morant play. He's a very, very gifted player. Will most likely end up, he's right now the best player out of his draft class. He may, even with Zion Williamson's, even with the hype of Zion, Ja Morant right now looks like he's going to be the best player to come out this draft. He's averaging 22 points a game, I believe. Yeah, he's averaging 22 points. He's only averaging 2 rebounds, but 8 assists. He's very, very much one of those guys. I very much like. He's one of the guys I look forward to. This isn't a team with a lot of scores, so if they get into the playoffs, which I believe they will, they're probably going out in the first round because if they stay where they are, which I believe is what's their, I think they're like sixth in the Western Conference. They're fifth in the Western Conference, which means they'd be playing Denver. Although Memphis has a really good defense, I don't think they have the firepower to hang with Denver in a 7-game series. I just don't think they have the firepower for it. Between Murray and Jokic and Porter, I just don't think they've got that kind of firepower. The rankings are going to shift without question throughout the year, but if it stays relatively similar to the way it is right now, they're going to have a really hard time getting out of the first round. Boston is at the 9th spot, dropping from 7. They had some big games this week and a couple big losses this week. A couple close games from a couple bad games from Kemba Walker, who went 7 for 27 over 2 games and had a couple rough moments, missing a step back, 3 against a step back jump shot against the Lakers and getting picked by DeJounte Murray. So he's having some problems. He's not exactly, got his head on right. And with Marcus Smart missing the next couple weeks with a calf injury, I'm not overly confident in what I'm going to be seeing from the Boston Celtics. They are currently 10-8, fourth in the Eastern Conference, but it's the East as memory stands right now. If the playoffs were to start today, which of course is ridiculous because we've still got 50 games left. Excuse me, a little tired. Where was I? Yes, Boston. As the standings now right now, they're 4th. Most likely going to end up playing the Pacers at 5. I don't know how I feel about that for them. We'll see. If any of them can get their games right. With the addition of Karis LeVert, who hasn't actually played yet. And I think they found a mass on one of his kidney or something, or his liver. I forget which one. I forget what the actual organ was, but I'm assuming he's still waiting for the test results. All right, we're going to take a short break, then we're going to get back. And when we get back, we're going to finish up the power rankings. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back from our slight break. I was a little tired, had to get some sleep, but I'm back. We left off with the Boston Celtics at number 9 on the power rankings. Now we're at the Phoenix Suns, who are at number 10, up from 11 last week. They've basically, 5 straight games determined in clutch time, 2-minute shots for the lead. It's a strange time for the Phoenix Suns. I'm not exactly sure what they're doing over there in Phoenix. I mean, they look good, but their pace is so strange for this team. The 27th in pace, which is something I'm not exactly comfortable with for this team. I think they need to be out in space, running up and down the. Just woke up, still a little groggy. Sorry about that. Where was I? Yeah, I think the Phoenix Suns' best option would probably be to get out in space,
move up the tempo, get that pace higher, because they've got a good offensive rating, which is 17th, and with a team that's got Devin Booker, that's just so strange. But they have a very high defensive rating at 5. DeAndre Ayton's been playing better. Jay Crowder's playing better. Mikal Bridges is playing better. I mean, Mikal Bridges has definitely evolved his game. I know he's only averaging like 15 points, but that's 15 compared to 9 last year and 8 the year before. So he's taken a jump in his abilities. I mean, his field goal percentage has gone down, but his 3-point percentage has gone way up. He's out on like what, double the amount of threes. So playing with Chris Paul has definitely been better for him. Problem is, I don't think it's been better for everyone. I think Devin Booker, like I said before, I think Devin Booker is a player who needs to play more in space, and he's a player that they need to run this, game up and down. They need to get out in space and really push the tempo. I think that's what's best for him. Not exactly what's best for Chris Paul. I mean, Paul, he's an older player. Chris, I want to say he's like 36. 35. No, sorry, Chris Paul's 35. He's averaging 17 points and 9 rebounds. This is 15th year, so I think you'll see maybe a more up-tempo style. I think this is more like playoff basketball. I feel like he might be getting them ready for playoff basketball, but we just haven't seen it yet. And as talented as I think they are, they're one of the teams I expected to be at the top, near the top of the Western Conference. Well, not near the top, near the middle of the Western Conference. They've got some great players on this team that's just not completely, set yet. Next, we're going to move on to number 11, which are the San Antonio Spurs, up from 15. They've been getting better and better as the year has gone on. They're a very well-coached team. I wouldn't say incredibly talented team, but they're very well-coached by Greg Popovich. 10th in pace, 18th in offensive rating, 14th in defensive rating, 15th in net rating. They're a team that a lot of people like. I'm not one of them. I think they're a little too bland. I'm not really sure the way or the style that they play in. They play a lot of mid-range ball, and that's a problem, especially in today's game. I think you need a better three-point shooting team, and LaMarcus Aldridge is kind of a shell of what he used to be. DeMar DeRozan is underrated, but not by much. Rudy Gay is once again same thing, a little older, nowhere near as seasoned. DeJounte Murray, very good defensive point guard. They don't really have like an apex scorer on this team, and that's going to be their downfall if they make the playoffs. Their downfall is going to be they have no legitimate apex scorer. DeMar DeRozan's not that guy. Number 12, the Golden State Warriors. I love the way the Warriors have been playing this early in the season. They're third in pace, 22nd in offensive rating, 11th in defensive rating, 16th in net rating. I do love the way they've been playing this year. It's essentially they've been I'm not really sure how to say it. They've just been so kind of like scrappy is the word I'm kind of looking for. James Wiseman has looked like one of the best rookies in the league. He's definitely in the front runner for Rookie of the Year this year, along with LaMelo Ball and Tyrese Halliburton, and maybe Anthony Edwards. But Anthony Edwards got some bad games. Steph Curry basically has this team on his back this year. He's averaging, I want to say, like 28 points. Yeah, about 28 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 43%, 46% from the field, 40% from 3, 93% from the free throw line. Draymond Green's averaging his own 6 assists, being really like the point guard, the playmaker on offense, helping Steph initiate the offense, running the offense sometimes so Steph could get off ball, which is where he's really, really dangerous. That's why Draymond's so central to what this team does on offense. Kelly Oubre Jr. not having a great shooting season, but he's averaging a steal and a half per game. I mean, that's kind of what you want from your guys. If your shot's not falling, you want these guys, playing better defense, rebounding, maybe even playmaking. And then, of course, you've got Andrew Wiggins averaging 18 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 47% from the field, 40% from 3, 67% from the free throw line. Free throw percentage needs to get better. And, well, I find it really hard to say anything nice about him because I know it's just he's been a player who I expected a hell of a lot more from when he was in Minnesota. When he was in Minnesota, I expected a lot more from him and Karl Anthony Towns. And when Jimmy Butler got there, that's when I knew that these two guys weren't about winning. They weren't about winning. They were about stats. They put up empty stats, empty calories. And as talented as Andrew Wiggins is, I don't feel anything from him. I don't feel heart. I don't feel determination. I don't feel will. I just feel a guy who plays basketball because he's really good at it. Number 13, the Indiana Pacers. Number 14, the Portland Trailblazers. Number 15, the Atlanta Hawks. Number 16, the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets up from 22. The Houston Rockets have been kind of like the darling. I know they just won last night too. They just won last night beating who did they beat? I'm trying to remember who they beat last night. I think they beat I'm trying to remember who the hell did they beat last night? They beat somebody. I'm trying my bet. Oklahoma City. That's who they beat last night. They beat Oklahoma City 136-106, blew them off the court. I think they hit like a record 28, a franchise record 28 threes on this team. Christian Wood is once again just proving without a shadow of a doubt that he's one of the better big men in the Western Conference right now. 18 points, 11 rebounds in this game. Victor Oladipo, he looks like he's getting back to form. 15 points. He has 15.7 assists. John Wall, 18.6 rebounds, 5 assists. He looks great too. Eric Gordon gave you 25 points off the bench. Daniel House gave you 13 off the bench. DeMarcus Cousins gave you 17 off the bench. Boogie looks like he's getting better and better as the year goes on. Christian Wood averaging 23 points, 11 rebounds a game this season on a good Houston Rockets team. I thought this was going to be a bad team after the James Harden trade, but they look good. They're, I want to say 6-2 or 7-2 since the James Harden trade. I think it's been like 8 or 9 games since the Harden trade. So I'm pretty sure they're like 7-2. They've won, I want to say like their last 5 straight. And you got Boogie Cousins averaging 8-7 only this year, but he's got a good couple of games. I mean, he had a 28-point game against Dallas, a 19-point game against Washington. You got this 17-point game against Oklahoma City. Now, I think he's still just rounding into shape, still getting his feel back for the game. But I think he'll get better and better as the year goes on. Now, back to the power rankings. You got Charlotte at 17th. LaMelo Ball just started his first game last night against the Miami Heat. Yeah, LaMelo started his first game last night. Had in 31 minutes, he had 14 points. He only shot 3 for 11 from the field, but 2 for 4 from 3, 6 for 6 from the free throw line. He had 5 rebounds, 7 assists to help this team win. Malik Monk came out big off the bench, 36 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. He hit 9 3-pointers. 9 of his 11 made shots were all threes. You had Devontae Graham in the starting lineup. He gave you 24 points. Cody Zeller gave you 19 points. Gordon Hayward gave you another 19 points. Gordon Hayward's having a great year. I know PJ Washington went down with a bit of an injury, and Terry Rozier is out of the starting lineup because of an injury to himself. But Gordon Hayward averaging 23 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He's definitely come back. He's healthy, and he looks great. This is the Hayward I think Boston expected to get, but man, it took him a couple years, to come back from that horrific, like leg injury where his leg just collapsed in that first game against Cleveland like 4 years ago. And it's taken him a while to get back to the Gordon Hayward we all saw in Utah and we thought we were going to get in Boston. And the same thing kind of happened to Paul George. It took him a couple years to get back to like top 10, top 15 NBA player. Now, as for LaMelo, he's averaging 12 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, probably the best rebounding point guard in the NBA. He had 14 points this game, had a career high 27 points against Milwaukee. It was 8 for 10 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3-point line, had 5 rebounds, 9 assists. He was plus 37 on the court. LaMelo's an incredibly talented player. He's my front runner for Rookie of the Year this year. I think if he continues to play well, I think it's his to lose. All right, back to the rankings. Number 18, Dallas. They're down from 13 to 18. Jesus Christ. I don't know what's up with the Dallas Mavericks right now. The Mavericks are 13th in the Western Conference, even with Porzingis being healthy. This was definitely a team that I thought was going to be in the top echelon of the Western Conference, somewhere between like 1 and 4, especially with Porzingis finally getting back healthy. But they look terrible right now. And I don't think they played last night, but they did play last night. Lost. It looks like they lost a close game against Phoenix, 109 to 108. Luka still doing Luka things, gave you 25 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists. Josh Richardson, 24 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Kristaps Porzingis, 19 points, 10 assists. These are great stat lines, but they just don't look complete right now. They just don't, and it's a shame. I would very much like to see these guys all, succeed, but they're kind of just in a funk right now. The New York Knicks stay at 19. They're, like I said earlier, they're not trash. They're not great, but they're not exactly trash. Oklahoma City at 20. Toronto at 21. Another incredibly disappointing team this year, the Toronto Raptors. The Miami Heat are 22. They just got back, Jimmy Butler he missed 10 games, and they're 7 and 12. They need to get back in the game, because right now they look like a complete fluke that made the NBA Finals last year. They look terrible this year at 7 and 12. They're 22 in the power rankings, 18th in pace, 26th in offensive rating, 19th in defensive rating, 26th in net rating. They have not been playing well this year. And I know Jimmy just got back, and I know when he got back, he scored 30 points. That's great, but it's hit a game-winning bucket. But he needs to get this team back into shape. Cleveland Cavaliers are 23. Once again, not a terrible team. Better than I expected from last year. Chicago Bulls at 24 are pretty much exactly where I expected them to be. The New Orleans Pelicans at 25, another team that I was not expecting to be this, kind of inept. I don't know why they're slowing down the offense, but they need to get up and down in space. And I think they're probably either looking to trade, from what I've heard, they're looking to trade either JJ Redick or Lonzo Ball. One of those guys probably, or both of those guys might go. I think Lonzo might need a fresh start somewhere else, third team in this number of years. And I hope that's not the case. Sacramento Kings 26, hoping they'd be a little bit better, but I'm not surprised at where they are. The Orlando Magic, at 27, started off the season hot, but injuries have definitely derailed them. The Detroit Pistons at 28, terrible. Minnesota Timberwolves at 29, terrible. And the Washington Wizards are the worst team in the NBA, despite a big win against my Brooklyn Nets. But I'm not expecting much from this team. They've got really nothing to look forward to. I hope Bradley Beal can find a way to get himself the hell out of here. Well, that's it for the NBA Power Rankings. Let's go over the standings real quick. In the Eastern Conference, we've got Philly at 1, Milwaukee at 2, Brooklyn at 3, Boston at 4, Indiana at 5, Atlanta at 6. Those are your top 6 for the playoffs right now. If playoffs were to start today, all of those guys would be just in the play-in tournament. You've got Cleveland at 7, Charlotte at 8, Chicago at 9, and New York at 10. In the Western Conference, you've got the Clippers at the number 1 spot, Utah and the Lakers at 2 and 3, Memphis at 4, Denver at 5, Phoenix at 6. Now that's your top 6 for the Western Conference. Once again, if playoff starts, those 6 teams are in. The play-in tournament, Golden State at 7, Portland at 8, Houston at 9, San Antonio at 10. That's your play-in for the play-in tournament in the Western Conference. And ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the SJP Files episode 13, I believe. Yeah, should be episode 13. I number all of my episodes, but I've just kind of forgotten which is which at the present moment. But I'm pretty sure this is episode 13. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. We'll see you again.